Hi, I'd just quickly like to introduce my team, Idis, Michael and Karan. We're from Queensland Government, mostly from Health, also from Child Safety. I never get the name of the department right. We've been new to this area. This is some new concepts for us. We've looked at it through the lenses that we're used to seeing the world, or interpreted it, I suppose, and found some parallels, which is quite reassuring, and a lot of the stuff that we've done today in the last few days seemed to make a lot of intuitive sense. We've all received the same brief, which was to improve the referral rates to diversionary justice options. We thought we should just make sure that this kind of brief was appropriate for a behavioural insights intervention. And the data that was provided shows reducing numbers of referrals to adult restorative justice conferencing, and yet the evidence that we've presented with suggests that the rational person would be expected to embrace these options because given that there's a rate of return on the investment of about $8 to 1 for the use of diversionary options. So we suggest that, yes, this is appropriate for a behavioural insights intervention. We see problems with referral behaviour, with decision making, and we think that that's associated with bias, and we've looked at that. We also could just be an example of Deming's idea that every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets, and you'll see what we mean by that as we go on. We've taken a bundled approach, and that recognises the complexity of the actors and processes involved, and we've heard from other presenters already that the complexity of processes in either of the systems is an issue. So our bundle is something that we commonly use in healthcare. It's a group of interventions. They're commonly used in achieving improved outcomes, but especially where there's multiple contributing factors. So we've examined the context in which the issue is occurring, and the key actors are identified in this slide. Well, the key actors that are currently, the key actors that are currently involved, that is. We've looked at the sorts of biases that are relevant, and we recognise the fact that they're operating in different systems of values and beliefs, and yet the ARJC provides, and in fact demands, that there's intersection between them.
Slide.
Oh.
So we wanted to start at what the issue is, which is referrals and conferences numbers are going down. So how do we look at why that's the case? We decided to start with the criteria, and there's a few things that really stand out with the criteria. The criteria itself provides a barrier for referrers to refer offenders. There's also a shrinking population of the cohort available for being referred. The offenders who have offended in a similar type of crime in the last 5 years are excluded, and offenders who have previously attempted restorative justice conferencing are also excluded, despite there not being the reason they may not have completed that, it may not be their fault. So we think that that's a starting point to remove those criterias. They'll have a positive effect on simplifying the referral process for referral sources. I'll pass over to Michael.
Okay, one other thing we noticed was that there is a big untapped resource for referrals, which is the post-sentencing field. We noticed in the criteria that referrals could be done post-sentencing, but we noticed no referrals coming from corrections, and we thought that's a good place to start to improve our referrals. Part of the reason for that is timeliness. People have got a lot of time on their hands if they're in prison. Also, quite frankly, it gives them something to do while they're in prison and improve themselves. But it also speaks to a saliency bias where often in this, concentrating on the offender and whether they deserve to get closure or help or whatever. But we've missed, in some respect, the victim and the needs of the victim. And this goes back to Kieran's slide as well, which is that regardless of the offender's moral deserts for getting help, the victim still deserves help to get closure, to prevent things like PTSD and so on. And that could be improved by opening up the whole corrections area to get referrals from.
So the next bundle of strategies, we focus on the Hawthorne effect. So under the Hawthorne effect, which is also called the observer's effect, where our behaviours get impacted on our awareness that we're being watched. So under those, we've got 3 strategies. One of them is that we propose a right for an independent person to review the non-referrals. Now, these independent person could be police advocacy service, prison advocacy services, pro bono lawyers, or even prisoners and victims themselves could look at the non-referrals. Why was that not referred? The second strategy, it's really we propose perhaps a random sample of de-identified non-referrals could be selected for potential parties for reviews. Now that's, a Hawthorne effect in itself, but it also raises the awareness that the program exists for other people, and also raise the understanding of, potential non-referrals to ARJC maybe actually are suitable for referrals. The last strategy under the Hawthorne effect, we're proposing to include public performance reporting for the ARJC referrals. Nothing like an agency feeling like being watched.
All right, one of the last things that we came up with was to tackle the ease and timeliness issue was basically streamline the whole process of getting people signed up as a referral. So what we've done is mapped out an app to take someone through and just go, okay, do you meet this criteria? Yes, no. Do you meet this criteria? Yes, no, et cetera, to really quickly triage people, winnow out the ones who are excluded, focus in time and resources on the ones that are potentially included, determine whether they're happy to go in with it. Talk about whether the victim's included or not, get the form pre-filled, get it put in, and get it done.
Finally, we also look at evaluation. In evaluation, we look at the process evaluation, learn about the implementation of the nudges, any lessons learned from the implementation, and also impact evaluation, whether the nudges that we proposed generated increased referrals. So that would do a pre and post, quantitative on referral rates. And also finally, including referral targets in service delivery statements and whole of communities targets.